This is Lizzie from Let Zoe Spoil You.
And Sagira from Sagira Salutes You. And together we are Newbie versus Weeaboo. Sagira, Newbie.
Lizzie, a Weeaboo.
It's Newbie versus Weeaboo.
This podcast is brought to you by a veteran anime fan, myself Lizzie, who wanted to share their love with a friend. That would be Sagira, who is our newbie. Each week I make Newbie watch an anime film and we discuss it from the points of view of someone who has watched anime for 25 years, did a master's in Japanese culture and spent time in Japan, versus someone who has watched the Death Note in dub.
So Sagira, what do you think of the movie we watched today?
Okay, so here's my synopsis. A time between iRobot and Battlestar Galactica, when robots were neither machine nor human. After discovering Shania Twain is a fleshy dead robot, who, by the way, hasn't done anything to anyone, her death invokes mechanoid discrimination and calls for a cull. Meanwhile, moody lady stuck in a child body, Armitage, has to fight for her right to have babies and to kill the same guy over and over and over again.
So we watched Armitage 3, Third Polymatrix.
Indeed.
Not to be confused with any other previous Armitages, there is only, well there's two Armitages, but this is the first one. This is Armitage the Third.
The first thing I did say was, well, I haven't seen 1 and 2. You're like, no, this is the first.
It's Armitage the Third, Third Polymatrix.
Yes, not the third film. No. Okay, well, right away, the thing that I noticed was the art style, obviously. And it had this futuristic feel to it, but even if you didn't show the robots, because those robots doing the plane, whatever they're on, even if you didn't show them, you could still feel this futuristic feeling to it, because it's just a certain way they draw it, isn't it? It's the sharp lines, it's the metallic looking metal, it's just a theme of the sci-fi genre in anime.
Yes, I mean this is more specifically what's quite famous genre of the cyberpunk. So this is where a lot of famous titles came from the cyberpunk genre over here, because the 90s was a big boom in cyberpunk. So again, it's similar like era of cinema as things like Motion Z and a lot of other more famous titles that come out around about this time, like Akira and Ghost in the Shell, which at some point you will see. At the moment, I'm doing all my childhood favourites rather than the big cult title. Like, nah, I'm doing the stuff that I liked when I was younger.
Which is fair enough. I mean, a lot of this stuff I've never heard of that you've been showing me. Like, I've kind of heard of Battle Angel Alita. I keep wanting to call it Battlestar Alita.
I know. Battle Angel, again, the classic of the cyberpunk.
Exactly, but it's a film that, you know, I've kind of heard of, but every other film that you've shown me I've never heard of, so, you know, I'm learning a lot from your childhood.
My childhood. When I say my childhood, I was about 14, 15. I was looking into it and we're like, oh my god, I was like 15 when this film came out. And I was like, oh, I am old. I was worried it wouldn't hold out, like, time-wise. And actually, I still think the animation looks beautiful. Same like I still think like Battle Angel Alita looks. I mean, obviously it looks like older style animation, but the artwork and the attention to detail in the scenes and even the fluidity of movement in a lot of the stuff, it looks great. And I thought it would, being one of these 90s things, come across as a little more misogynistic. But at the time I didn't quite realise why they used certain character designs. And now, as an older person rewatching it, I actually got a hell of a lot more out of it than I did when originally. We were like, this is cool, and I want to be Alita, and I want to throw handcuffs at people and shoot things and fly and be awesome. And maybe not look like a 12-year-old. But at the time, I was 15, so she looked around about the same age as me.
Yeah.
You know?
You're going to idolise the person that you can most relate to.
Yeah.
Age-wise, yeah. So one of the hooks that was right at the start of the film was, what happened to Jennifer? Because you see him on the floor, it's like, Jennifer! And it's like, oh my gosh, so I thought that that's what the film was going to be about. Yeah. What happened to Jennifer? It kind of was like a going nowhere kind of thing.
Yeah, basically they needed to show that, to show why he starts off hating robots, why he left Earth, and why people are like, don't get your partner killed. He's like, oh shit, I did that, I'm going to run away from Earth and I hate robots now.
But I do feel like it's something that could have come up later. Like, you have the whole intro, and then it's like somebody talks to him and maybe he has a flashback because the murder at the start reminded him of the murder of Jennifer.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It was like right away, this guy's the main character. He wasn't.
No.
Jennifer's important. She wasn't.
No.
Like, it seemed like a big story point that wasn't as big as you had hoped it was going to be, or as mysterious as you hoped it was going to be.
No, you kind of, you don't really think much about Jennifer during anything. I know that I don't really pay much attention. It's like, right, Jennifer got killed. He's sad. He leaves Earth. She was his partner. He's like, oh, I'm never going to have another partner again because I got my last one killed. I hate robots. There's no partner. Maybe he should stop having partners that he probably is boning. Because he's like, oh no, I've got another female partner. I better bone that. Oh.
Oopsie daisy. So at the start, there was a flight attendant who had really big anime eyes.
Yeah.
And then Armitage had big anime eyes.
Yeah.
No one else until the end had big anime eyes. So I thought that these two people were important because they looked different from everyone else.
Yeah.
But the flight attendant ended up, again, just being a flight attendant and just was different for no reason. Why?
What do you mean different for no reason?
So they had these big...
Yeah.
Yeah, they had big
because
anime eyes.
they were the robots.
So only robots have big anime eyes, but that's
Did you not notice how all the female robots...
But they didn't. But they didn't because the writer didn't have great big anime eyes.
She was a third.
So it's... Yeah. See, this is why I brought up the eyes, because this was confusing to me.
Because the seconds were made, and you know, it's basically that's the kind of the misogynistic things. They're made by men to be ideal workers, and obviously this comes from like basically Mars is a very interesting representation of Japan. So Mars in this is Japan,
right?
And it's that whole like male-led society, and it was still made in the time where women in the workplace. I mean, it's still women in the workplace is a bit of a dodgy subject now, but women in the workplace, like, there's all these things, like, they don't tend to keep women employed past 30 in offices and stuff, because as women get older, they don't look as attractive, and that can unattractive women will distract the salary men. So they want young, pretty-looking women to not distract men by being old women, which is stupid, because I'm pretty sure they're not distracted by the young, pretty women. But yeah, so women in the office, especially during this era, a lot of the time based on looks. So women are basically two things, like in Japan. It's the Rusai Kembo thing, you know, good wife, wise mother. So they're wives and mothers, which is why in the workplace they'd be like, you're not my mother or my wife. Oh, so you better be this hot young thing that will eventually become a wife or a mother.
Right.
Once you become wife-mother age, you're expected to quit your job and become a housewife. So all the seconds are based on this kind of archetype of, if you're a predominantly male-run society and you're doing your job, you want young-looking, lovely women around. And also it's a comment on the manga and anime industry and how all like anime characters are designed for these big eyes, overly cute, and it's all like, because it's a fallacy to appeal to male tastes in Japan. So all the seconds are they just look like anime characters with the big eyes. The difference between them and when they start talking about the thirds look like realistic women because they were created to start looking like realistic women because they had the secondary purpose of being something that could have a normal life, grow old, have children. Armitage just got big eyes, but they're not the big, stupid, over-the-top, like anime eyes. They're just slightly bigger to show that she's younger. Because as you get older, their eyes kind of get a bit smaller. But she's still young and she's innocent compared to them. So her eyes are bigger because she's young and innocent. But they're not those big, round robot eyes. She's not a fake creation for male titillation.
Got it, because I noticed that the stewardess at the start had the bigger eyes, and then nobody else throughout the whole thing other than Armitage had them, and then right at the end a whole abundance of big-eyed ladies appeared, so, and by then you know that they're robots. Yeah. But
actually, if you watch it, they're in all the scenes just kind of wandering about. You just don't really pay attention to them.
No, didn't pay attention at all.
Okay, yeah. like when Armitage goes to the hospital, it's a big-eyed robot woman with a little circle on the front desk, and there's all the office workers in the little booths, and even in...
Sorry, that was my pen, sorry.
So, all the office ladies in the booths, whenever you see an office scene, and the flight attendants, they'll have the little uniform and the big eyes, and you can just tell there's all these like pretty women in the mainstream job places which would be seen as male office spaces.
Right, okay. Yeah, I was very tired when we watched this. I wasn't taking too much attention to the background. I was trying to concentrate on the main story. Something that I am impressed with anime, which I find in a lot of Western stuff. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not a huge moviegoer, but they're not afraid to brutally kill women. I find that. So, for example, when we went, me and my partner went to see Jurassic World.
Yeah.
There's the bit where the dinosaur goes a bit rampagey and starts like kicking people. It's the one with the dome head. He was butting everyone.
Yeah.
At the auction. All you saw was men flying around. There's a bunch of women there, but none of the women got hit. It was all men. In this, all the women are dying.
Yeah.
And brutally, like really brutally dying. And I feel like anime isn't afraid to do that with women. Like it's fair game either way. Men can be brutally killed, women can be brutally killed.
Yeah, there was definitely an equal, like, male and female characters get subjected to a lot in a lot of these shows. There isn't. Obviously, some of the stuff designed for the male audience and Japan's rather dark porn industry, which we won't go into here. Nikki Tasso is a whole other world.
I was going to say, I'm sure there's going to be another more 18 rated podcast for that.
Yes, there's going to be a huge one when I talk about, like, 'cause especially since I studied the porn industry, there's a whole subject of, like, eroticising the brutalisation of women in Japan.
Am I going to have the kitten for this talk so I can have something to cuddle and
I'm not going to go into it now because it's
no, like I say, that'll be for the 18
yeah,
podcast.
for the 18 one, when I describe what Nikitasu is to you. But so like they do equally, like they don't seem to have this fear that Western culture has that if you show violence towards women, it automatically is seen as a sexual thing, or it's seen as like, oh my goodness, that's so disrespectful, you can't represent women like that. But because the West is like still like wants to have equality for women and don't want to just show them as victims.
Yeah.
Japan doesn't have as much of like that equality for women thing and is happier to show them as victims. But actually, when it comes to anime itself, like, because there is so much of it, there is more equal. Because even if you see the ones with the superheroes and stuff, there are female, powerful women that can fight just the same as men. They get injured, and they've got... Anime has a lot more stronger female characters in it than Western TV ever has for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, what I feel with Armitage, because like you said, she looks like she's 12 years old.
Yeah.
And she dresses like she's in her early 20s.
Yeah.
She dressed quite provocatively. I feel a vampire vibe with her. Because she's a robot, she can't really age. So, that means that she's a woman trapped in a child's body.
I think the implication is the thirds can age.
So, is she a third or a second?
She is a prototype for the thirds.
Right.
Okay. So she never got full third status, which is probably why she doesn't age the same way as them. She never got that. Because the other ones, they had a range of ages and clearly could turn into older women. Like, you know. But she was kind of the prototype. She wasn't completed. And also I think she was created because they kind of wanted a weapon. Yeah. And then the guy was like, I don't want to create weapons, I want to create life. And the first point of call for creating life is you create mothers.
Yeah.
And then obviously he decided to create tree people after that.
Yeah, so, which is the obvious moving on from
to
a tree.
When you want to create life, he's like, you create something that gives life, and then eventually you create tree people.
Of course, because that's where we're all going, apparently.
Yeah.
There is that, actually. They're trying to turn graveyards... This is true, actually. They're trying to turn graveyards into forests. So instead of putting people in coffins, they're going to fold people up, put them with a tree kind of already growing out of it. Yeah, kind of like a sapling. And then your body will nourish the tree and you will grow into a tree.
I love that idea.
It's nice,
I
isn't
would
it?
like to be a tree.
However, that is a really nice idea, but think about the day when people don't care about the past and they start chopping down all the trees. That'd be a sad day.
God,
Or if you didn't know that it was a graveyard of trees.
Yeah. And also think how frigging haunted it would be.
Oh, it would be an amazing forest.
It would be.
You could even think of it as haunted or whimsical.
As someone who normally goes for whimsical, but I know what I'm so firmly a believer of the supernatural that it will turn into the one in Japan.
Oh yeah.
It will literally turn into Suicide Forest.
But that's the thing, like, it's meant to be there to be like this respectful place where people can go and visit, and it's not so creepy because it's trees instead of graves. However, like you say, when people start, if people were to start killing themselves on those trees, it would completely ruin what it was there for.
It's a lovely idea.
But they need to think about it a lot harder.
Yeah.
It needs to be really protected. But anyway, moving on from that, just a little insight into the modern world. So I feel this quite a few times with the futuristic stuff. It's a future world.
Yep.
There's floating buildings, there's amazing computers, there's moving picture frames, there's all this technology, and the transport looks like rubbish. The cars look awful, the trains look like they've been made today in London. It's like, why is transport always so rubbish?
I don't know. It always looks fine to me.
Really? I just think that,
one of them was a shuttlecraft that managed to fly all the way from Earth to Mars, and it just looked a bit like Concorde, and then it had wheels and it transported them. They all look, it's not rubbish, they all look functional.
They just look like they're not futuristic. I feel like when you're doing something for the future, you at least have things looking a bit sleeker. You know, modern society would want their things looking like it's futuristic. I mean, in the future, it will be modern. So everyone will have it, so it won't look futuristic. But when you're building something for the future, it will look futuristic.
The difference with this one and also things like Alita is Alita's set post-apocalyptic world, and this is set on Mars, and Mars is a bit of a dumping. They keep repeating how it's got enough crap left over Earth, so it's a bit of a dumping ground. I think it's a colony that grew up. And maybe Earth will have all the sleek stuff, but Mars will have all the industrial second, because they can't make things on Mars yet. They don't seem to have that kind of economy yet.
So they just transferred the rubbish stuff from Mars, from Earth onto Mars, and Earth.
And again, obviously Japan being obsessed with functionality over style a lot of the time. Obviously they've got some amazing style.
I was going to say, their trains are superior to us.
Their trains are beautiful. The Shinkansen is fast and efficient and magical.
Exactly.
But if you think about them starting again on a colony, you would get, and also in a world where things aren't going as well, because this is like a hypothetical representation of how it all might go tits up in hegemonic society. I think there aren't big old stations to build new swanky stuff on it, because it's clearly a society that's not that affluent yet.
Right, yeah. Something that was notable as well is there was a lot of hate towards robots, but as far as I could see, the robots weren't actually doing anything wrong. A lot of the robots were functioning as humans. You had the country singer.
Yeah.
And everyone loved her, but then because of her came all the hate. So is it more of a thing with the hate that they don't want robots being in our world who are fleshy because they can't tell a robot from a human, or is it because they just don't like robots?
It's the same as pretty much now. It's that idea that they are more than human and they're taking their jobs and replacing humans. People are totally afraid of what they don't understand, or anything that reflects them back, and reflects them back in a way they don't like seeing themselves.
Okay.
Which is a common theme in a lot of sci-fi, supernatural, cyberpunk genres. The hatred from the robots came because on Mars, you can imagine it being a kind of a harsh place to start off with. You would have needed the robots to do a lot of the jobs to make it habitable for humans, and it's actually so interesting because it's literally what's going on in things in the UK now with immigrants.
Yeah.
It's everyone. We got freaking Brexit because everybody wanted the immigrants out because they were taking their jobs in their houses and stuff, and you saw those things happening in Armitage and all those protests of I want our jobs back. Well, if you wanted the jobs, you should have applied for it. And in fact, the robots are doing the menial jobs that a lot of people don't want to have those menial jobs. It's not like the robots are becoming doctors and things. They're doing office work and repairs and gutter cleaning, and most of the robots are created for the pleasure domes. And you've got two sets of people kind of in this world. They're the ones that basically it's the males and the females that think, oh my god, they're taking our jobs. Then there's this underlying hatred of robots that's coming from women. Women don't like the pleasure robots because obviously they can do what regular women can't do. Robot pleasure bots can't have opinions and say no.
Sure.
And a lot of men can
put things in places that other women may not want.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of jealousy from the women.
Right, yeah.
And also, by the time that the revelation about the thirds are, women don't want robots having children because that takes away something that makes you sacred and important.
Yes. that nothing else can do.
Yeah, there's a whole underlying theme in this that comes from feminist ideals and how these robots actually challenge ideas of feminism, and it's the women that actually send the assassins to kill the thirds.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
So throughout the whole thing, I was kind of getting a Blade Runner vibe.
Yay, it's cyberpunk. This is that wonderful cross-consumerism between the different cultures. Cyberpunk originally was novels in America, Blade Runner being like 1982, the big cyberpunk cult classic. After that, Japan started going, we like this, and the cyberpunk genre of the 90s boomed. So a lot of it does look like a weird combination of Blade Runner and Arnold Schwarzenegger on Mars. Total Recall.
You always forget that.
I know, I don't know why, and I love Total Recall, but it's that industrialised futures, and the fact that and this hypothetical what would happen to our society if it continued. But the fact of the matter is, it looks so much like Blade Runner, and you then think of Blade Runner 2046, which only came out last year, and you can see that Blade Runner 2046 flashes back to some of this stuff, because Blade Runner 2046 had the can androids give birth, should they give birth, natural, and I'm like, oh, that came from Armitage, and it's that wonderful thing of seeing the cyberpunk genre being reconsumed, redistributed in well ways, because the Blade Runner films are good, and unlike something like the Ghost in the Shell remake, which we all know my opinion of that is pretty low. Cyberpunk has got to be ahead of its time, but at the same time a reflection of the society it's being made in and for. And Blade Runner did that by making it not a sci-fi action one, by making it a film noir in a cyberpunk future, but a realistic, organic, kind of future rather than slinky clear sci-fi.
Slinky.
Yeah, exactly. And Armitage, it just has that look and feel. This is a future that's lived in, industrial, it's a bit dirty, it's a bit grim. It's not pure and clean and high society, again, and which a lot of cyberpunk can be. And there's so many great titles in it, so many. But yeah, I like that about it. I like this kind of industrial, futuristic landscape.
So glad I picked up on that. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to talk about is the ending, because I was very sleepy at the end and I had no clue what was going on. I know there was a war. I know that Armitage got some wings.
Yeah.
And that's it. So can you explain what the war was?
Okay, so basically, when I originally watched this, I just remember being lots of cool shooting and Armitage having her laser guns and wings and being awesome. I didn't quite put the pieces together. Obviously, 25 odd years later, rewatching it, it's but basically, Mars was a separate colony and stuff, and obviously Earth is yay, we're amazing and wonderful. Earth has been trying to get Mars to sign a treaty that says it's property of Earth. And to do that, it's got on the bandwagon of an important issue to kind of prove its politics. So it got on the bandwagon of yay, robots are awful. So people were like, oh, you said robots are awful. We're all going to vote for you. And yeah, we're totally going to join Earth, because Earth also agrees that robots are awful. So that was kind of the top layer of kind of what the politics was. What the real politics is when you actually listen to a lot of the average conversations going on, Earth is run by a female president. And there's a line where someone is saying that, well, look at Mars, it's not really a feminist state, which implies that Earth is. The Earth government is predominantly female. They see the invention of the thirds as a challenge to the women's place in society. Women, obviously, the mothers, and male society would not be able to continue without the women, because the women are the only ones that can procreate and continue human race. Therefore, obviously, they should have the most power. But women are well, if robots can procreate, that takes away our power and our place in the hierarchy. So the women employ the assassin droids to go and kill the third. So that's the Van Crute, how do you pronounce his name? I've forgotten his name already, I keep calling him back.
The guy keeps coming back.
Yeah,
I started calling him David Bowie, he looked a bit like Bowie.
Yeah, a lot of 80s and cyberpunk stuff and some other stuff that I'll show you, and you're there's so many characters that look like David Bowie. It's it's the 80s, you can tell. The thing is, this is the 90s, so basically whatever happened, Japan's, sometimes its ideals are 10 years, so the 90s is full of things that look like the 80s.
Well, to be fair, David Bowie is a handsome man.
Oh, he's a beautiful man. Oh, there's some really good David Bowie lookalikes in animes that I can't wait to show you.
But if you're going to base a man on someone, David Bowie.
Yes. And they created, the original line of the thirds were created as weapons, which is why all the men look the same, because they didn't need various men pleasure robots, even though saying that, I'm pretty sure male pleasure robots are probably needed, although they did create Julian, and there's no way that pretty boy was not a new design for a pleasure bot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and that weird obsession of hot pants between Julian and Armitage, and I'm like, what's your obsession of hot pants, guys? But yeah, he was, there were assassins employed by the female government to wipe out all the thirds that could procreate because they challenged the politics of the day. And so basically, by the end of it, when Armitage and Ross were trying to solve the mystery of like why the robots were being killed, but also kind of fight for some rights, they'd become outlaws. They'd gone to her father's place to kind of go, what is the answer to this? And he's like, yeah, I don't want to create weapons, I wanted to create life, and I wanted to create the next stage. And then he realised that biological life based on humans is kind of arbitrary. It's kind of like you don't need that to create a new useful life form. So he created this new bioorganic androids, which are the ones that look like trees. And he was like, and these are things that can help and grow and are a new life. And he basically playing God a little bit. No rational government likes a man who plays God, especially one that's lost the plot a little bit. So they were like, we have to destroy this man because A, he can create life. He can create life that can also give birth to life. And basically he's played God and we're going to wipe him out. And we also should pretty much wipe out Armitage because she's one of the last remaining thirds and the people who know the truth and can procreate. And we're just going to send in everybody and just get rid of all of this. Just like, and she was like, I have a right to live, I'm human. And she has that beautiful line, which is one of my favourite lines in any form of media, which is that if humans hate me, why do they create me? And it's just like, it all comes down to ego, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so what should we score this out of?
Oh, it's hard. Like, when I originally watched it, it was like one of my favourites, because I was like, cool shooting and I want to do that cosplay. Then I rewatched it and thought, ooh, this has got a lot more intelligence in it. So like, I do think that it's one of my top favourites. I don't think it's quite a 5 because I do think it suffers from a bit of exposition. There are a lot of conversations that are literally just telling you that's its downfall. It's exposition conversations where they're telling you the plot and a little bit of like wasted like scenes and kind of little arcs that you kind of like don't really like. The Julian stuff really doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. And
you're just like, I like that character. Are we never really going to find his consciousness that was uploaded? Never again. So it does leave a couple of plot points a little bit lost, but its social commentary and its visual narrative are amazing. So I don't know, should we give it I don't know what to score it out of. 4
hot pants.
There we go, 4 hot pants out of 5.
I'm going to give it a 3. And the reason for this is because, one, I was very tired, so I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to all of it. I was very tired from the convention at the weekend, so partly that. But another point, because I felt like it was going to end several times and it didn't. I was like, I think it was coming to the end. I was like, okay, well, we haven't done this plot point, but it's probably going to end. And then it carried on. And I was like, okay, they're probably just going to cover that plot point. But another plot point would come up. It's like, but now they have to cover that plot point and it feels like it's ended. Oh, no, it's not ended yet. So I think because of that constant, it's going to end, and it doesn't, that kind of made me want it to end.
Yeah.
So it's very good. The art style is fantastic. And like, as you say, like there's loads of things that you can pull and take apart from it that relate to now. But I'm still going to give it a 3. Maybe if I watch it again, it might go up when I'm a bit more aware. But for now, it's going to go with 3 hot pants.
Beautiful.
Hope you enjoyed the episode. This is Lizzie from Let Zoe Spoil You signing off. And if you did like what you heard and want to hear more from me, you can find me as Let Zoe Spoil You on YouTube, Instagram, Tumblr and Twitter.
And if you'd like to know more from Sagira, you can find me on YouTube, Tumblr and Twitter.
But for now, this is a weeaboo saying Janny
and Newbie saying see ya!